Who was Homer? Did he really exist? Where was he from? We don't know the answer to these questions. We just know the name because through many generations, poets have referred to the author of these two wonderful paradigmatic poems called the Iliad and the Odyssey. All we have heard is that Homer was blind and that he wandered through different cities of the Greek peninsula singing his poems. At that time, we have to remember poetry was conceived of as an art to be accompanied by music. We don't have a single line written by Homer. We have compilations 4 or 5 centuries after many generations of poets had repeated his Iliad and Odyssey that are the books that we now know as the Iliad and the Odyssey. Those two poems refer to the main subject of their narrative. The Iliad is the poem of Ilion, the city that was destroyed by the Greeks, also known as Troy. The Odyssey is the tale about Odysseus, or Ulysses, the king of Ithaca, a legendary personage that after 10 years fighting in Troy tries to return home to his wife Penelope and takes 10 more years to arrive to his reign. So we're going to talk about these two poems, the Iliad and the Odyssey, but first we have to remember that they have been cataloged as epic poems for one reason. What does epic mean? Usually this word is understood as the heroic narrative of marvelous deeds. However, originally the word epos in Greek means voice. That concept is central to understanding that Homer was saying his poems, was singing his poems through his voice. And the subject obviously was heroic as we understand it today, something that surpasses the human capacity because the poem is full of characters that are semi-gods or gods themselves. Athena, Zeus, Aphrodite, many of these deities intervene in the plot and have sides, take sides, either with the Greeks or with the Trojans. So the Iliad doesn't really narrate 10 years of war, that would be a super long poem. It basically focuses on the last year, the 10th year of the struggle, in a passage protagonized by Achilles. Achilles, who was a semi-god and who had extreme strength and bravery, who was the terror of the Trojans, decides to withdraw from battle because one of his slaves had been taken by Menelaus and Agamemnon, two of the Greek kings that were commanding the troops from the Balkanic Peninsula in the siege and capture of the city of Troy. So Achilles decides to withdraw, but after his friend Patroclus is killed because of a misunderstanding, he's furious, and that's how the poem starts. Homer begins with the line, "Sing, O Muse, the wrath of Achilles, the son of Peleus." Achilles himself was the son of the goddess of the sea, Thetis. So Achilles, with his supernatural strength, starts to slaughter the Trojans, and thanks to his intervention, finally he kills the prince Hector, and the Trojans are able to conquer the city through a trick that Ulysses conceives, the famous Trojan horse. So let's go back to Achilles and how this war began. We have to remember that in order to know what happened, the so-called apple of discord, Helen of Sparta, also known as Helen of Troy, the wife of Menelaus, was seduced by Paris, a Trojan prince, while he was visiting the Greek peninsula. This obviously upset the Greek in great measure, they decided to take revenge and organize an army to invade Troy, recover Helen, and take all the riches, the wealth of the Trojan civilization. When this happens, many years pass, and then we arrive to the 10th year of the war, which is when the Iliad begins. So this is the basic plot. But there are many characters there that have to be underlined. We have mentioned Achilles, who is the hero, the protagonist of the poem. We've mentioned his friend Patroclus. We have mentioned Hector, the prince of Troy, who is killed by Achilles. The kings of two cities of Greece, Menelaus and Agamemnon, are also important characters of the poem. All of them interact among them and with the gods. The gods take sides, as I mentioned. And the final passages of the poem are related to the victory of Achilles over Hector in the beginning of the destruction of Troy. In these images, we have reproductions of the Greek vessels, the Greek fleet approaching the coast of current Turkey, which is the place where Troy has been localized. And finally, the famous Trojan horse, the horse that was conceived by Odysseus or Ulysses, king of Ithaca, in order to camouflage a series of warriors that, upon a simulated withdrawal of the troops of the Greeks, would allow the Trojans to celebrate their victory, the withdrawal of the enemy. However, the enemy was within the walls of Troy, and that's how in one single night the Greeks were able to destroy the city, kill Priamus the king, and also give origin to one of the most important legends about the origin of Rome. Greece and Rome are related through myths. One of the important nobles of the city of Troy, Aeneas, son of Anchises, fled the city upon the destruction and finally was able to arrive to the Italian peninsula a few years later, where he was able to conquer the land of the king Turnus. But that would be the subject of a different poem many centuries later. Let's go back. That would be the Aeneid by Virgil, the Roman poet. Let's go back to Homer. Let's go back to the Iliad, and let's go back to ancient Greece. As I mentioned, these poems were not written by Homer himself, they were sung. We have an idea of what he sung, but many of the repetitions may have changed. Lines, references, adjectives. The basic structure of the poem is the hexameter verse or line. That is a line that is composed by 6 units of syllables, either 2 or 3 syllables with a consistent accent in the second or the third syllable. This kind of unit is called a dactylic, and we can definitely go to a classification of different verses of epic poetry. What matters here is that musicality, the musicality of the lines, the musicality of the poem in general, in addition to the suspense that the plot creates, make these texts, the Iliad and the Odyssey, some of the most important and paradigmatic pieces of what we consider today classic literature.